If you've taken Amtrak, it's objectively not the best way to travel, as there are many things that make Amtrak not a good rail company, such as the ancient equipment, expensive to ride the train, and it can take twice as long as driving. As Amtrak continues to operate their passenger rail network, there are other countries that have higher speed trains that are efficient, clean, and reliable than in the United States. In this video, I will talk about some of Amtrak's modernization projects and how it can improve their passenger rail network. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the future of Amtrak. Chapter 1. New Avelia Liberty High-Speed Train Sets. When talking about the future of Amtrak, the project that has been popular these days is the future of high-speed rail. Amtrak has ordered new high-speed trains called the Avelia Liberty that will be entering service in 2023. Since I have talked about the Avelia Liberty, I will briefly talk about the history and what the future holds for the Acela Express. In August 2016, Amtrak announced a $2.4 billion loan from the United States Department of Transportation for the purchase of new high-speed train sets for the Acela service from Alstom. These next-generation train sets would replace the 20 existing Bombardier Alstom train sets that were nearing the end of their useful service run. The first prototype set was sent to the Transportation Technology Center in Pueblo, Colorado in February 2020 for high-speed testing. While these trains were testing, they were capable of reaching speeds of 165 miles per hour. A second prototype was delivered in March of 2020 to Amtrak for testing along the Northeast Corridor, which began in May 2020. The first test run went up to Boston South Station on September 28, 2020. On July 20, 2022, the fourth Avelia Liberty train set left the Alstom facilities in Hornell, New York to make its way to Philadelphia via the Mohawk subdivision along the Hudson Line and eventually the Northeast Corridor. Now today, the Avelia Liberty still hasn't entered service due to a power car not doing its job and testing requirements. Once the Avelia Liberty will enter service in 2023, the Acela will retire its fleet. I wouldn't be surprised if a power car or even a whole train would be donated to a museum to show how iconic these trains were. Once the Avelia Liberty enters service, they will be America's most modern, efficient, high-speed, and reliable trains. Chapter 2. Siemens Venture Cars. It all started in 2014 when All Aboard Florida purchased 5 Venture train sets for its new Brightline service along with 10 Siemens Charger SCB-40 diesel-electric locomotives. They were built at the Siemens factory in Florin, California, starting in July of 2015. The first train set was completed in December 2016. Public operations began on January 13, 2018. In November 2017, a merger of states with state-supported Amtrak routes ordered 137 Venture rail cars through its contractor Sumitomo Corporation. This order included 7 train sets for California and 88 cars for Illinois, Michigan, and Missouri as pairs and single coaches. The Ventures were the merger's second passenger rail car order. The first order of next-generation bi-level passenger rail cars was cancelled after the prototype, built by Sumitomo's subcontractor Nippon Cherio, failed a buff strength test in August 2015. The first 3 Venture cars entered testing in February 2020. They were originally planned to enter revenue service in July of 2020, but were delayed, not making their first run until February 1st, 2020, on a Lincoln service train. On December 12, 2018, Canada's national passenger rail service operator, Viewliner, announced that it was purchasing 32 Venture train sets to replace the entire fleet used on its Quebec City to Windsor corridor. The first train set was delivered for testing in 2021. They are expected to enter service in 2022 to 2024. In August 2019, the state of Wisconsin used a Federal Railroad Administration grant to purchase 6 Venture coaches and 3 cab cars. The 6 coaches will be added to Amtrak Midwest, while the 3 cab cars will be used exclusively for Hiawatha service trains. In April 2021, Amtrak announced that they will be ordering 83 new intercity Venture train sets to replace their existing Amfleet 1 cars. The contract was signed in July 2021. The contract includes 20 years of service and support. Now let's talk about where these Venture cars will be going around the United States. Amtrak has ordered 8 6-car Venture train sets for the Cascade service to replace the Horizon cars, which themselves replace the Toggle Series 6 train sets. Each train set consists of 5 coaches and 1 cab car. They will be paired with one of WS.'s 8 existing Siemens SC-44 diesel-electric locomotives. The first train set is scheduled to enter service in 2024. Illinois, Michigan, Missouri, and Wisconsin have ordered 97 Venture cars for Amtrak Midwest routes, including Blue Water, Hiawatha service, Illinois Zephyr, Lincoln Service, Missouri River Runner, Per Marquette, and Wolverine. Of the 97 cars, 68 are married pairs, while the remainder are single cars with traditional gangways. Half of the married pairs have a cafe car and an economy coach, while the remaining 17 have a combination business class and an economy class coach and an economy-only coach. The business class and cafe cars have 2 vestibules each, while the economy coaches have 1. This arrangement, unique among venture operators, allows trains to be sized to meet the travel demands of individual routes and allows business class seating and cafe cars to be added or removed. Among the 29 single cars are 3 cab cars with economy seating for exclusive use on Hiawatha service trains. In March of 2022, the Amtrak Midwest Venture coaches, which had been introduced with much media fanfare to corridor trains out of Chicago, were removed from service. The reported reason was that powerful magnets designed to hold sliding tray tables in place were damaging cell phones, laptop computers, and other electronics, and were potentially powerful enough to disrupt pacemakers implanted in passengers with certain heart problems. The magnets, which are exclusive to the Amtrak design, were being removed. As of April 2022, the Amtrak Midwest Venture coaches are back in service, but with the magnets removed and brackets in place to prevent the tables from being extended. Amtrak has made a firm order for 75 Venture train sets for intercity routes that operate over its northeast corridor. The train sets will be built in 3 configurations, each customized to the capacity and propulsion needs of the routes over which they will operate. All train sets will include an ALC-42 charter locomotive on one end of the consist and a cab-control passenger car on the opposite end. On board, there will be a car with a food service area and a mix of coach class and business class seating. There will be a 26-car catenary diesel dual-power train sets that will include an auxiliary power vehicle. The APV will be the trailer car closest to the locomotive and will include a pantograph, transformers, and a power truck. In electrified territory, the APV will draw power from overhead lines, which will be fed to the powered truck and the traction motors in the locomotive. These train sets will be used on the Carolinian, Downeaster, Keystone Service, Palmetto, Pennsylvanian, and Vermonter. There will also be 24 8-car catenary diesel dual-mode powered train sets, similarly configured, for use on the Northeast Regional trains, including through trains to Virginia and Springfield, Massachusetts. Amtrak has options to purchase up to 8 additional 8-car catenary diesel dual-power train sets. Amtrak will also purchase 15 6-car battery diesel hybrid train sets, where the trailer car closest to the locomotive will provide electricity to traction motors in the locomotive when operating around New York Penn Station, eliminating the need for third-rail power on the Adirondack, Empire Service, Ethan Allen Express, and Maple Leaf. Amtrak has options to purchase up to 2 additional 6-car battery diesel hybrid train sets. The California Department of Transportation has ordered 7 Venture train sets for the San Joaquin service with 7 cars each, 4 coaches with economy seating, 2 coaches with economy seating and vending machines, and 1 cab car with economy seating. 2 cars per train set will have built-in wheelchair lifts for compatibility with the low platforms used in California. The cab car and 2 other cars per train set will have 1 vestibule per car, while the remaining cars will have 2 vestibules each. Brightline Venture train sets consist of 4 coaches, 3 with economy seating and 1 with business class seating. Each train set has 2 Siemens Charger SCB-40 diesel-electric locomotives, 1 on each end. Each train set has a capacity of 248 passengers. Premium service coaches have 50 21-inch wide seats in a 2x1 layout, while Smart service coaches have 66 19-inch wide seats in a 2x2 layout. Brightline has purchased 5 additional Venture train sets in preparation for their extension to Orlando and will expand the existing train sets to 7 coaches when the extension opens. VRL Venture train sets will have 5 cars each, 2 business class premium coaches, 2 economy class coaches, and 1 cab car with economy seating. Each train set will be paired with a Siemens Charger SC-42 diesel-electric locomotive. All seats will be 19 inches wide with a 2x1 layout in business class and 2x2 in economy class. About half of the exterior doors on the coaches will be permanently closed. Now that we have talked about something new for Amtrak, let's talk about something that Amtrak has had for a while now. Chapter 3. Viewliner II Cars. The Viewliner cars are used on most of Amtrak's long-distance routes as they provide a good night's sleep for passengers on board. Amtrak has always had a fleet of sleeper cars with bedrooms and roomettes, but there are two completely separate fleets of cars. The routes that Amtrak operates in the Midwest have stations that use low-level platforms, and there are less tunnels and bridges with low clearances, so for these routes, Amtrak uses their Superliners, which contain bi-level cars that are mostly served in the Midwest. These cars have doors that are level to the ground for capabilities without high-level platforms, as what those stations have in the Northeast. Amtrak also has the Viewliner Cars, which serve the Northeast with capabilities that can serve at stations with high-level platforms and low-level platforms, if needed. Most of the Viewliner Cars are seen on the Lakeshore Limited. These cars can also fit under the wires on the Northeast Corridor, despite the fact that the Superliners can't run on the Northeast Corridor due to how high they are. Now that we have talked about the original Viewliner II cars, let's talk about how they will be modified. Amtrak has made progress on the Viewliner II cars as they've added some new features. Amtrak has now added window-level beds. These beds, of course, are window-leveled so that passengers can see clearly out of them. Unfortunately, there isn't much information on these window-level beds, but as far as I know, Amtrak made these better for passengers who can ride on board. The most significant change that Amtrak has made on these cars is that they don't have room and toilets. Instead, there are two restrooms down the hall. The pull-down sink has been maintained. Replacing the commode are fixed shelves, also serving as steps to the upper berth when it is pulled down from the ceiling. The wider steps are an easier target for feet to hit when climbing down at night or in the morning. Another plus is the extra space below the steps that can accommodate a carry-on rolling suitcase, which might not fit under the adjacent seat and remains available when the bed is down. When passengers board, they always need a place to put their luggage. So for this, Amtrak has added overhead storage. On the Viewliner IIs, the enclosed loft above the hallway is not as deep as on the older cars, so that black suitcase which fits comfortably under the wash basin stands out in the room. This out-of-the-way cubbyhole comes in handy when two people are occupying in a roomette, since Viewliners don't have a separate baggage area as Superliners do. Yet, it has always been difficult to lift and maneuver luggage into the space. Doing so requires the upper berth to be lowered slightly to swing the suitcase up and in. It's best to have the sleeping car attendant assist. In the photo, a strap has been removed that is normally hooked to the ceiling. It is part of a harness that prevents passengers from rolling out of the upper bunk when the train lurches. Amtrak has also redesigned the pull-out tables, with wider folding flaps, a blonde coloring that complements the roomette's decor, and wide elbow cushions next to the window. The Viewliner II table seems much sturdier than the outdated gray metal tables installed in the Superliners and Viewliner ones. The wood veneers on the Viewliner IIs have been upgraded as well. Although the car has bright LED lighting throughout, simulated dark wood paneling in the halls make it warm and inviting. This is the view of the closed accessible bedroom door. Moving along to the Bedford stations, they have relocated from the end of the car to a corner in the hallway between roomettes and bedrooms previously occupied by a linen closet and long illuminated audio and video entertainment gear. Finally, the showers have made an improvement as well. The public shower for roomette occupants at the other end of the car near the restrooms is brighter and much more spacious than the Viewliner 1 version. This is achieved by adding a mirror dressing area, high ceilings, bright lighting, and an enlarged shower stall with a rounded door. Now that we have talked about the Viewliners, let's talk more about the Superliner cars. Chapter 4. New Superliner Cars. On June 16, 2021, Amtrak released an article titled, "Amtrak Makes Major Customer Experience Investments in Comfort and Modernization on National Network Routes." Amtrak said that they began a multi-million-dollar and multi-year project to improve the customer experience aboard its long-distance trains serving overnight routes across the country. Modernize interiors of Amtrak's bi-level Superliner fleet, serving primarily Midwestern, Southern, and Western routes, will improve comfort with new seating cushions and upholstery, carpet, LED lighting, tables, and curtains. All Superliner coaches, sleeping cars, dining cars, and sightseer lounges will be refreshed. Viewliner 1 sleeping cars operating to and from the east and southeast will be similarly improved. More than 450 rail cars will be improved over the next 3 years at an investment of $28 million, extending the useful service and modernizing cars that were delivered in the 1980s and 1990s. Additionally, upgraded bedding, pillows, towels, and linens, as successfully tested on Auto Train, will be expanding to all private bedrooms and roomettes starting August of 2021. As I'm writing the script, this probably happened already as these cars have been upgraded. Chapter 5. New ALC-42 Locomotives. I will first begin talking about the history and where these ALC-42 locomotives will end up on other commuter-based operations and corridor-based routes. Before I get ahead of myself, let's see where it all started for the charger locomotives. The first SC-44 locomotive was revealed on March 26, 2016. The first two charger locomotives to leave the Siemens factory in Florence, California were transported to the Transportation Technology Center in Pueblo, Colorado in June 2016 and underwent testing to perform acceleration and braking. The first Brightline SCB-40 locomotives were delivered in December 2016 to undergo testing in Florida. In February 2017, Amtrak and WSDOT began testing one of the Midwest-bound locomotives for federal certification along the Cascades Corridor in the Pacific Northwest. Test runs were performed on the Midwest and Northern California routes in April and May. Testing at up to 135 miles per hour at TTCI on the corridors and on the Northeast Corridor in September 2016 resulted in the federal certification for 125 miles per hour operations. Revenue testing on the Capital Corridor and San Joaquin routes in Northern California began on May 25, 2017. The Northern California units were accepted and approved for solo service on October 23, 2017. The SC-44 entered revenue testing on the Midwest routes in July of 2017, with solo revenue service beginning on Hiawatha Service Train on August 24, 2017. Revenue service on the Cascades route began in November 2017. The first chargers for MARC began testing that month, and revenue service began on April 5, 2018. Pre-revenue testing began on the Pacific Surfliner in October 2018. Revenue service began later that year. The first ALC-42 for Amtrak's long-distance trains was put into service on the westbound Empire Builder on February 8, 2022, after extensive testing in the Midwest and on the Empire Builder route. Of the two units on the inaugural service, one was Amtrak's Day 1 Heritage Unit number 301. Finally, the last variant of the charger locomotives is the long-distance variant known as the ALC-42, which was what I originally wanted to talk about in this video. On December 21, 2018, Amtrak ordered 75 ALC-42 locomotives with options for additional 100. The first locomotive was expected to enter service in 2021, with the last by 2024. Compared with the SC-44, changes were made to the ALC-42 to make it more suitable for long-distance service, including additional PTC systems for nationwide service, a larger 2,200 US gallon diesel fuel tank, and other features that make it preferable for SC-44 long-distance trains. Manufacturing of the first ALC-42 began in March of 2020. On August 5, 2020, Amtrak announced that one of the first 6 locomotives will be painted in a replica of the Day 1 livery to commemorate 50 years of Amtrak service, while the other 5 will feature a new Phase 6 paint scheme. The remainder of the fleet will introduce a new Phase 7 livery. By February 2021, 12 units had begun production, with the first locomotive, Amtrak 300, delivered to Amtrak on June 17th. The first ALC-42 locomotives entered revenue service on the Empire Builder on February 8, 2022. On the same day, Amtrak announced that they have ordered an additional 50 ALC-42s, bringing the total number of locomotives ordered to 125. Amtrak plans to purchase at least 65 ALC-42E locomotives as part of its intercity trainset order with Siemens. These trainsets will be used on routes that operate on the Northeast Corridor. Each ALC-42E will be paired with one of 2 types of passenger trailer cars with special functions such as the auxiliary power vehicle or battery car. The auxiliary power vehicle will contain a pantograph, transformers, and a powered truck. In electrified territory, the APV will draw power from overhead lines, which will be fed to the powered truck and the traction motors in the locomotive. Outside of electrified territory, the ALC-42E will function like a typical diesel-electric locomotive. This combination will replace the use of Amtrak's existing Siemens ACS-64 electric locomotives on corridor trains that continue off the Northeast Corridor. The battery cars will supply electricity to traction motors in the locomotive when operating around New York Penn Station, eliminating the need for third rail power. This combination will replace Amtrak's existing GE Genesis P32 AC-DM dual-mode locomotives. The Illinois Department of Transportation, in conjunction with its counterparts in California, Michigan, Missouri, and Washington, purchased 32 SC-44 locomotives for state-supported corridor services, operated by Amtrak under contract. The $225 million order placed in March of 2014 included options for an additional 75 corridor-configured locomotives. In 2015, IDOT ordered 12 additional units for use on the upgraded Lincoln Service Corridor. California ordered 14 additional units in November 2015 for use on the Pacific Surfliner beginning in 2018, plus 2 more units in 2016 for the Northern California services. Washington State ordered an additional unit to replace the one lost in the 2017 point-defined bypass derailment. A total of 64 locomotives were ordered for Amtrak state corridors in this contract. 22 for California, 9 for Washington State, and 33 for the Midwest states. Another 8 options were used by MARC, bringing total contract orders to 72. In June 2018, the North County Transit District Board of Directors approved the purchase of 5 FC-44s for its San Diego area coaster commuter rail service, replacing 5 older F40PH locomotives. Deliveries began in August 2020 and are expected to conclude in the spring of 2021. 2 additional units were approved in June 2019 and another 2 in September. These additional locomotives will replace 2 existing F-59 PHI locomotives and allow increased service levels. The first 5 locomotives entered revenue service on February 8, 2021. MARC announced in August 2015 that it was seeking $58 million to purchase 8 locomotives to replace their aging electric-powered AM7 units, with deliveries planned for late 2017. The purchase was approved by the Maryland Board of Public Works on September 16, 2015. The MARC ordered used parts of Amtrak's state corridor options. The first MARC charger was shipped from the Siemens factory in early December 2017 and began testing in mid-January 2018. In December 2020, New York's MTA approved a Federal Transit Administration-funded $335 million contract for 27 dual-mode locomotives based on the charger design. The new locomotives will replace the 27 existing GE Genesis locomotives used on the Metro-North's Railroad Hudson Line, Harlem Line, and Danbury Branch. They will use Third Rail's electric power to enter Grand Central Terminal. The first 19 locomotives are scheduled to be completed in mid-2026. The contract has options for 144 additional locomotives, the 32 for Metro-North, 66 for the Long Island Railroad, 20 for Amtrak Empire Service trains, and 25 for the Connecticut Department of Transportation. In December 2018, Via Rail ordered 32 bidirectional train sets, each powered by one SC-44 locomotive for use on the Quebec City to Windsor corridor. The first of Via Rail's train sets were delivered on September 29, 2021 to Via Rail in Montreal, crossing into Canada via Sarnia, Ontario. When the locomotive's final paint scheme was unveiled by Via Rail in May 2021, the locomotive was designated as an SC-44, but when delivered the locomotive's designation had been changed to SC-42. Clearly, most of the equipment will not just be ordered for Amtrak. They will also be going to other commuter rail-based operations around the northeastern part of the country, so other commuter rails will have their own variant of a charger locomotive. Chapter 6. Conclusion. After years of Amtrak using the current equipment they have now, they finally have the funding to upgrade their system of rails and equipment around the country to replace the current equipment they have now to upgrade their infrastructure and many more projects that they can improve on. In less than 10 years from now, Amtrak trains will look completely different but will be efficient, reliable, and clean to show how Amtrak's years of service has drastically changed. That concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed learning about what Amtrak will be doing for the next couple of years on the nationwide system of rails and how they can improve it. This video took a long time to make, as the script was almost 10 pages long. Thank you to the people who watched the whole thing, as it means a lot to me. I'd love to make narrative videos like this and explain Amtrak's projects, but also other types of railroad-related content. With that said, thanks for watching.